Her words cut through the silence like a blade, calm yet undeniable. "You're my husband, human." I froze, my breath caught, my heart pounding against the weight of disbelief. I had never seen her before, never spoken her name, yet her gaze held me as if destiny had already been written. The chamber around us seemed to vanish, the voices of her people fading into nothing, leaving only her eyes and the truth they carried. I wanted to deny it, wanted to laugh, wanted to escape, but something in her voice made me stand still. It was not a question, not a plea, but a declaration, and in that moment I was completely stunned. Her people watched in silence, their faces unreadable, their logic unbroken. They had no words for love, no space for emotion, no patience for unpredictability. Yet here she was, breaking their law, defying their decree, choosing me without hesitation. I felt the weight of their disbelief pressing down, but her presence was stronger. She stood tall, her scars visible, her voice steady, her choice unshaken. I realized that perhaps this was not madness, not error, but something far greater, something my people had always carried, but hers had buried. I whispered, my voice trembling, "I don't know what this means." She answered with silence, her eyes holding mine, her hand reaching forward. I felt the warmth of her touch, fragile yet firm, a bond that carried no logic but carried truth. My heart raced, my certainty dissolved, my soul awakened. I realized that perhaps humans were chosen not for strength, not for logic, but for something else. Emotion unbound, courage unmeasured, love beyond calculation. The chamber shimmered with faint light, the silence heavy, the moment eternal. I had been stunned, overwhelmed, broken by disbelief. Yet now I felt something greater, something unforgettable, something eternal. She had called me her husband, and though I did not understand, I knew I could not walk away. Her declaration had shattered the silence, but what followed was even more disarming. I found myself bound to her presence, compelled to remain near her, though every instinct told me to retreat. She studied me with a gaze that carried no calculation, no logic, only a strange curiosity. I spoke of my world, of laughter and sorrow, of the contradictions that defined humanity. She listened, her expression unreadable, yet I sensed something stirring beneath the surface. Her people had buried emotion, had silenced vulnerability, had erased love from their traditions. Yet she leaned closer when I spoke of hope, her breath catching when I spoke of loss, her silence trembling when I spoke of desire. I began to see her differently. She was not a cold enforcer of law, not a rigid voice of tradition, but a woman carrying loneliness like a wound. Her scars were hidden, but her eyes betrayed them. I felt drawn to her, not by decree, not by ritual, but by something deeper. She touched my hand once, accidental yet deliberate, and the warmth lingered long after. My heart raced, my certainty dissolved, my soul awakened. I realized that perhaps she had chosen me not by law, not by logic, but by something she could not explain. Yet doubt crept in. One night she confessed the truth. Her people had matched us by ancient right, a calculation of survival, a decree of lineage. She whispered that she had spoken the words because she believed in them, but I felt betrayed. My heart twisted, my breath faltered, my silence grew heavy. I believed her choice had been manipulation, her declaration a cruel trick. I turned away, my voice sharp, my presence cold. She watched me leave, her eyes wide, her silence louder than any plea. But she did not surrender. She broke protocol, defied her people, sought me out in exile. Her steps were trembling, her voice fragile, her confession raw. She told me she had risked everything because she felt something she could not silence. She told me that logic had failed her, that tradition had betrayed her, that only emotion remained. I stared at her, disbelief warring with hope, suspicion dissolving into longing. Her vulnerability was undeniable, her courage unforgettable, her choice unshaken. I whispered, my voice trembling, "Then let's stop explaining and start feeling." She reached for my hand, her fingers fragile yet firm, her eyes shimmering with something her people had never named. I felt my heart soften, my suspicion dissolve, my loneliness replaced by something greater. The silence grew less heavy, the moment eternal. She had confessed, I had forgiven, and together we had chosen. The weight of her words lingered, but the true test came when her people demanded separation. They declared that emotions were weakness, that her choice was dangerous, that I was unworthy of standing beside her. Their voices were sharp, their logic unyielding, their tradition heavy as iron. I felt the pressure of their decree pressing down, but I refused to step back. I spoke not of law, not of calculation, but of love. I told them that humans did not choose with algorithms, did not measure worth in scars or crowns, but in the heart that endured, in the soul that refused to break. I told them that she was not weakness, not mistake, not error, but the proof that even in silence, love could rise. She watched me, her eyes wide, her breath caught, her soul trembling. No one had ever spoken for her. No one had ever defied the council for her. No one had ever risked themselves to claim her. She felt her world shift, her armor crack, her soul awaken. The bitterness that had haunted her dissolved, replaced by devotion, by hope, by the certainty that she was no longer alone. She realized that humans were different, that they saw beyond scars, beyond rejection, beyond fear. They saw with their hearts, and in that vision, she was not mocked, not discarded, not forbidden. She was chosen. The council demanded silence, demanded obedience, demanded that I step back. But she no longer heard them. All that mattered was the man before her, the human who had risked everything to stand beside her. She stepped closer, her voice trembling but strong. You confuse me, human, she whispered, but you have given me something I never believed I could have. I met her gaze, my eyes unwavering, my presence steady. Then let me keep giving it to you. The silence grew heavier, the moment eternal. She reached for my hand, her fingers trembling, her scars visible, her vulnerability laid bare. I took her hand without hesitation, my grip firm yet gentle, a promise without words. The council gasped, their disbelief shattered by the undeniable truth before them. She was no longer the woman bound by decree, no longer the exile, silenced by tradition. She was a woman who had chosen, and she had chosen me. Her heart melted, her soul ignited, her world forever changed. She whispered, her voice soft but powerful, "They wanted me silent, but you gave me life." My answer was simple, my voice steady, my words unforgettable. "And I will never let you go." The stars shimmered above us, the silence heavy, the moment eternal. She had been bound by duty, mocked by her people, denied love. But now, she was chosen, loved, cherished. The human had shown her that beauty was not in perfection, not in fear, not in cruelty, but in courage, in vulnerability, in love. And in that truth, she found herself reborn. She had called me her husband, and now I called her mine.